Hello, BookTube. All right, we're continuing with this library tour, and we are down to the bottom shelf. The bottom shelf, the second bookcase in the fireplace, so we're almost done with this section of the room, and it's been tremendous fun for me. Not just to see all these things and share them all. A couple of you have pointed out in emails that these library tours themselves do constitute TBR torture, but also to get a fresh look at these things myself and realize how many of them I do not need. So this is both a library tour and a culling, which is great because I have too many books and I have not enough room. So we're going to deal with, on this bottom shelf here, we should be able to get it done in 2 videos, today and tomorrow. We're going to deal with the outside books, the ones that are stacked in front of the books on the shelf, and then we'll deal with the books on the shelf and we'll be done. So the first one is a thin thing. It's by Charles Simmons, the former editor of the New York Times Book Review. This is the Belles Lettres Papers. About a fictitious literary journal where he creates a fictitious literary journal and a fictitious staff with silly names, silly Thackeray style names, and just uses that as a gimmick through which he can tell some of his favorite literary world anecdotes, New York literary world anecdotes, about New Yorker type anecdotes about the guy at the office who shows up every day and types away on his typewriter but takes the work away and never does anything for print in the magazine, or the rivals and the backbiting in the literary world. It's a slim thing. It's a tiny little thing, and I'm sure it'll never be back into print. It is a complete inside thing. It's a complete inside joke. The whole point of the book, from the minute that it appeared, was for a tiny fraction of the literary world, mostly in New York City, to flip through the pages and point out to themselves or to their friends who each character is in real life. It has a small amount of appeal for me, not enough to keep, but I've kept it anyway. Okay, we go from a tiny little thing to a huge thing. This is Vikram Seth's novel, A Suitable Boy, gigantic paperback from Harper. Yeah, Harper Perennial Classics. I've had this in many formats. This is the one I like the most. I even had a Penguin trade paperback of this from India. But I believe I've gotten rid of everything, even the hardcovers, that Penguin trade paper. I think they're all gone except for this. I just think this is lovely. So whenever I see that, I hear sirens. Am I going to be screaming over them to talk to you? Sounds like it. Nope, they stopped. Okay. Whenever I see this at a used bookstore, I grab it. I grab it right away just so I'll have an extra copy. Although I think that's the only copy I have at the moment. Okay, this next one is a double. We saw this already on this library tour, right in this section of this library tour. It's great. I cannot recommend it strongly enough. This is Mauricio De Giovanni. This is I Will Have Vengeance. This is the first book in his Commissario Ricciardi story set in mid-20th century Naples, where the main character, our Commissario, has a very unwanted gift, a gift that has helped him in his career as a police officer, but that is not anything he wants to happen, which is that he can see and hear recently deceased people. He can't have conversations with them, and they can't see him. And all he can hear from them is the last thing on their mind, which they, as troubled ghosts, repeat over and over and over again. And sometimes that actually does help in his case. In fact, and not just in the cases, in one of the earliest stories in this first book, we learn the event that cemented the loyalty of his second in command to him. He's a morose, inward person. You wouldn't think he would inspire dramatic loyalty, but his second in command is a man of a very different character, and it's a little bit complicated I don't want to give anything away, but there's a moment where Ricciardi uses his ability in a way that is directly connected to his second in command and wins his loyalty forever. And the book is full of such moments like that, and there are many books. So I strongly urge you, if you like murder mysteries, I strongly urge you to get these. They are so well done. And God bless the people at Europa Press for bringing them out in English. That's great. Okay, all right, this is Steve Healy. I've recommended this book many times. This is another one where I strongly urge you to just go and find it. Just trust me, you're going to love it. It is also a satire of the literary world, much like the Palo Alto Papers, only much better. This is How I Became a Famous Novelist by Steve Healy, in which the main character decides that the best way to stick it to his ex-girlfriend when he attends her wedding to an infinitely better person would be to go there as a success, to go there as a best-selling novelist. So he makes a point, he makes a mission to crack the New York Times bestseller list, which is so mercilessly sent up. The whole of the best-selling literary world is so mercilessly sent up in this book. You'll never look at the New York Times bestseller list again the same way after you've read this thing. It is so good. There's a fictitious bestseller list on the back. Number 1 is Mind Stretch. Trang Martinez suspects her Pilates instructor may also be a vicious serial killer. Number 2 on this fictitious bestseller list, Sage Knights of Darkness. Astrid Soulbrighter attempts to reclaim the throne from the wicked Sacred clan. 15th volume in the Blood Realms series. Number 3 is Balthazar Tablet. The murder of a cardinal leads a Yale professor and an underwear model to the Middle East, where they uncover clues to a conspiracy kept hidden by the Shriners. and we also meet send-ups of the authors of these horrible bestseller books, and sure enough, our main character comes close to succeeding. It's just a delightful book. Okay, all right, this is another literary novel. This is Joel Dicker's book, The Truth About the Harry Cubert Affair, in a lovely edition from Penguin. This is well, it starts out being the story of a young writer, a successful young writer who is having an epic case of writer's block, who reconnects with his old mentor. But then the mentor becomes involved in an amazing scandal of his own with the young writer along for the ride, and it takes off from there. But I loved it. I don't know what it's doing out here, but I thought it was fantastic. I have read it a second time, which for contemporary fiction is kind of rare. Oh, well, all right, unless that contemporary fiction is science fiction, this I have read. This is a series that I have read many times. This is Julian May. This is Jack the Bodyless. This is part of her Galactic Milieu trilogy. This is book 1, but she also this is a sort of a prequel trilogy to her Many-Colored Land, to her Pleistocene Exile series of books. They take place in the future of Earth, when Earth, that series, the Pleistocene Exile, takes place in the future when Earth has been accepted into an intergalactic community of nations, much like the Federation of Planets or whatever. And their acceptance is largely hinges on their mastery of innate psychic abilities, innate telepathy, telekinesis, that sort of thing, that all these races have, and that once a species becomes operant, then it's kind of a signal to the rest of this galactic milieu to invite them in. But these books, the Galactic Milieu trilogy, take place before the Pleistocene Exile. They take place at a time when Earth did not understand these powers, and neither did the people who owned them. And this is about one particular family, the Remillard family in New Hampshire, that is very, very strong, genetically speaking, for these talents and what they do about it. This is Jack the Bodyless is the first one in this series, and then I think this might have been, yeah, okay, this is this is the first in the series, and I got it. I think I found this in Vermont, and I don't have the other two books in the series. Diamond Mask and Diamond Mask is one of the other ones, and then there's a third. I know the Many-Colored Land books very well, and I know the book that sort of bridges the two. There's a 1-volume standalone called Intervention, about the Remillard family, that comes before these books and is fantastic and has to be here somewhere. Intervention just has to be here somewhere. But I do recommend them. I don't think Julian May is in print at all. And even if she were in print, I think it would only be the Pleistocene Exile trilogy books that would be. It's actually 4 books. But I think they would be in print if anything would be. I don't know that these will ever be. These Galactic Milieu trilogy, I'm sure you can find it though. I wish I had the whole thing. I think I only have the one of that trilogy now. Okay, all right, then this next one is a paperback. This was a BookTube darling, and well deserved to be. This is Danielle Dutton's Margaret the First, about Margaret Cavendish, a very thin historical novel that is strange, takes all sorts of chances. It signals its non-traditional approach with this wonderful cover, and it goes on from there. It's a terrific historical novel. that doesn't read like a historical novel. Okay, all right, then we have another historical novel. This is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, about the last woman put to death for murder in Iceland. Her story, the story of her, she's quartered with a farming couple while her trial is pending, and it's the story of her relationship with them, and it's heartbreaking, of course, as she gradually, very icily begins to relish the idea of being alive, even though she knows she's doomed. I reviewed this when it came out, and really liked it, and I have not gone back to it. I really should. I really should reread it. Okay, all right. Okay, this is another novel in paperback. This is Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. Her novel, her historical novel about a woman who keeps getting reborn. She keeps restarting her life and eventually becomes aware of this and wants to put it to some good use. And the good use that she thinks about is to kill Adolf Hitler. A weird book. It was a commercial and critical success. I reviewed it. I believe I'm on this paperback. Yes. Oh, right. Yes. This is so much fun. I'm on the where am I? I'm on the paperback, and so is Sam Sachs. We're right next to each other on this paperback edition. I liked it. Again, I have not gone back. I really should. Okay. All right. This is Appalachian novel by Rusty Barnes. This is Reckoning, about a young boy who discovers an unconscious woman in a pond, and all sorts of things unfold from there. Beautifully written, beautifully conceived. Small press. It was sent to me because I know the author, and I, in a situation like that, when you know the author and you say, can I send you my book? Some of you, I'm sure, have been in that position. You are on tenterhooks because you're thinking, of course, the courteous answer is yes, of course, you can send me your book. But the worry in the back of your mind is that the book will stink, and that then what do you do? I mean, then what do you do? And believe me, when you are a book critic, when you're a publishing book critic, that worry is even greater. So I opened it, literally my heart tripping just a little in my chest, wondering, okay, what if this is really bad? But I was saved the trouble because it's really, really good. If you're in the mood for Appalachian fiction that's with beautifully drawn, strong characters, then The Reckoning is a good book for you. Okay. All right. I don't know if I'm blurbed on this one. I might be. And I wouldn't so much mind being. This is Palo Alto by James Franco. This is a collection of short stories by the actor and himbo James Franco. That for a brief time there, he seemed to want to be taken seriously as a writer, and he came out with a short story collection. So I reviewed it, and I believe I reviewed his next book as well. He has stopped writing books, so I don't know what that means. Maybe it was just a whim. Okay, this next one is Vivek Shambag. This is Gachar Gonchar. This is a slim Indian novel that I really liked, about a weird family. They're very weird. They come into money, and it enhances the weirdnesses that were always under the surface. And yet, one of the things I loved about it, I think a lot of people who have read it that I know have loved it. One of the things I loved about it is that the more you get to know this family, the less weird they seem, and in some ways. And that I really like that because I think that's true just in general to life. So I don't know what it's doing here. I don't like it enough to keep it, but here it is. Oh, okay. All right, this is Marlena de Blasi. This is 1,000 Days in Venice, an opulent soap opera romance. A boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy finds girl again on a gondola. Just a Venice romance of a type that unabashedly was being written 200 years ago in an unchanged form. Okay, all right, this next one is another example I often say on this channel that I do not need really to have used books or to search them out because I get backlists sent to me. There's always an occasion for somebody to be reprinting some kind of backlist, either a new translation or a new anniversary edition, or in this case, a new movie adaptation where all of a sudden the book comes out again. And this is Fahrenheit 451. There was, I guess, an original HBO movie that was made of Fahrenheit 451, and so I got the Ray Bradbury novel, and I reread it. I don't think it held up very well. I've been noticing that about Bradbury, that I haven't noticed him to hold up very well. Martian Chronicles, yes. Engine Summer, yes, but but maybe that's just a mood that I'm in. Maybe I will certainly, of course, you don't give up on Ray Bradbury, so I'll wait and see. In 10 more years, I'll read them all over again. And then we're down to this last book. A little bit of heartache for this last book. This is self-published. This is M.J. Pearson, a novel called Helpless. Only one man can save him. And the little heartbreak is that the scene on the cover does not take place in the book. The book is about chloroform, and it's a Victorian thriller. In London during the gross indecency trial of Oscar Wilde, Douglas Shrove finds himself still haunted by memories of his dead lover while skirting violence, blackmail, and the affection of two men. There are two who seek you out. This is what the gypsy told Douglas Shrove a few months after the death of his lover, and the gypsy was right. Two men were vying for his affection. But neither one of those men strips his shirt off and ties him to a chair. That's just an imaginative cover. That's all. And there you have it. Those are the outside books. Those are the books that were stacked in front of and completely blocking the books on the shelf itself. So tomorrow, we'll move on to the shelf itself, and then we'll be done with these bookcases. We'll move on from here. We're just going to go around this room. So I will see you then. That was sort of fun. Thank you, BookTube.